Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. That is my co-host, Tyson Gentry, coming to you from Missoula, Montana. Tyson, it's a long-awaited NBA Finals reaction and preview as we get ready for Game 3 and 4. It's I don't think anybody expected us to be tied 1-1 after Denver.
I know you didn't after game
I
one,
didn't.
for sure. I think at halftime of game one, I think I had probably enough evidence for an entire podcast that Brad thought this was going to be a sweep, and then it just got worse. And then game two happened. Really, the second half of game two, but we'll get into that. But yeah, we're 1-1, man, and the Miami Heat just won't go away.
No, they won't. They're like zombies, man. Like you try to kill them and they just keep coming. It's actually super impressive what this team's done. And like Tyson said, we're 1-1. Heat steal back home court. Like we officially have a series. Somebody won on home floor. Denver's first loss on their home floor in the playoffs. Now they're going to have to go into South Beach and see if they can steal back home court. I think this finally got interesting. Now, am I worried about the Nuggets? I'm not. They're the better team. Am I worried about my in 5 bet? Yes, I am. I'm very worried about that right now. They're gonna have to win 3 in a row. But we'll talk about that when we get to Money Making Time and see if there's another angle that we want to play officially. But let's just talk about what the Heat have done and did, I guess, technically in game 2 to even this, because they got dog walked in game 1. I don't care what anybody says. Like, it was not that close. Like, they got dog walked. And I think people just thought, hey, Nuggets, they're going to go up 2-0. This thing's going to be wrapped. But they do what the Nuggets do, man. They just took their foot off the gas and let the Heat hang around for a little bit too long.
Jokic scored 41 points. He had 14 rebounds, but he only had 4 assists. And that's like just something that hasn't happened at all in this playoffs, hardly. As a low assist number for him. And he had less passes to shot attempts. I think it was 18 in game 1 and 11 in game 2 or 12 in game 2. So it was the Heat closing out better on shooters and things like that. But he shot the ball 28 times, and like you're not upset about that because he scored 41 points. He still had a really good offensive game, but it just to me looks like Bruce Brown and Michael Porter Jr. and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Do they not look like a little bit less engaged in the game when they're able to get 3 like from the corner, from up top, things like that?
I don't know what's going on with KCP and Porter Jr. Like, Caldwell Pope looks out of it, man. Like, he's fouling guys.
Yeah, he's unaware that, like, this is game 2 of the NBA Finals. Michael Malone said it. He's like, I'm talking about effort after game 2 of the NBA Finals. If that's the narrative in the locker room and in the media, I don't really care that it's 1-8 because that's, like, a mentality that we've seen doing 50 other teams in the NBA Finals.
And especially in this playoffs, especially with the Heat. Like, that's the thing. If you're not ready to play, they will take advantage of you. Like, they just flat out will. Like, the Bucks, they thought they were going to cruise. Now, yeah, Giannis did get hurt, but at the end of the day, they kind of came in a little lackluster. Their defense was horrible, and the Heat lit them apart. You just kind of go through everything else. Celtics, they messed around for a little bit and played with fire for too long. You just go down the list of the teams who played the Heat, and they take advantage of your mistakes. And the Nuggets made a mistake in game 2. Like, after the first quarter, they're like, oh, man, Miami's kind of here to play. All right, let's try. And then they were up at halftime, and then they just kept, like, keeping it 5-7 points. They just never twisted the knife in them to kill them. And in the fourth quarter, they just came out. And Michael Malone, I was going to text you this because Michael Malone, he's talking to Lisa Salters in the break from third quarter to fourth quarter. It's like, we have to defend the best we have to defend. Like, if we're giving up shots, and as he's saying it, they're playing the game, because it's voiced over, and Duncan hits that 3. I'm like, uh-oh. Like, we may be in trouble here. And here you go. Duncan Robinson runs a little 8-0 run by himself. And I'm like, man, oh, man, the Nuggets don't look in it tonight.
Well, that's another underrated part of the Miami Heat is the fact that Duncan Robinson goes from unplayable for certain points of his career to this point to closing out the Celtics. An 8-0 run by himself here in clutch time of game 2. They're playing roulette basically with role players, and they're getting it right like every time. You talked about playing with fire. That's seemingly what Eric Spoelstra is doing with rotations. and he's nailing it. Kevin Love gets 22 minutes after being DNP'd, for the last month for the most part. He comes in. It allows Jimmy Butler to switch on to Jamal Murray to start, which was one of the things we talked about in the preview show. Like, at what point does Spoelstra make that switch and let Jimmy Butler? Because the communication between him and Bam Adebayo on switches and just their kind of versatility and ability to shut things down quickly and like before plays get into the action and things get too deep and all of a sudden Jokic has the ball in the post and you're screwed. Like, they're quick, and then all of a sudden passing lanes are shut off. And everyone's just talking about how in order to beat the Nuggets, you have to make Nikola Jokic score 50 points or let Jokic score 50 points. I don't think that's a great strategy. I just think that that's like the only thing you can do. And when Michael Porter Jr. is talking about how the Heat are hearing the Nuggets call out switch on screens and things like that, and then popping out for an open three, as if that's some sort of competitive advantage that only they have, is ridiculous. Like, at this point in the season, you can't be saying stuff like, I yelled switch, so he's not allowed. Like, he's supposed to go through the screen. This isn't cool. That's ridiculous to me.
Let's just run through this then. You have Gabe Vincent, who led the Heat in scoring with 23. Bam Adebayo has become an offensive juggernaut in this first 2 games of the series with 21. Jimmy Butler had a quiet 21, and he has not really been what we've become accustomed to of Jimmy Butler since like the midpoint of that Celtics series. I think probably game 3 or game 4. I mean, 7 of 19, that's not great. He still ends with 21. He has 9 assists. Like, he's still effective, but I mean, he was only a +3, like easily the worst on the floor of the starting 5, which is like surprising for a lot of people to hear. And then when you look over at the Nuggets side, Jokic has 41, but the only person even close to that is Jamal Murray with 18. Like, Aaron Gordon's their second leading scorer.
They were at the end of the game.
Or third leading scorer, yeah.
He wasn't scoring at all. And do you have the plus-minus numbers in front of you?
I do, yes.
Will you look at Kevin Love's?
Kevin Love's plus-minus. Now, I think this is going to surprise you. He has the second best on the Heat with a +18 in 22 minutes.
Isn't that ridiculous? Like, just a simple switch like that to give more size, and then all of a sudden, like, they just didn't let the Nuggets be huge, and they couldn't figure it out.
It's surprising, and Michael Porter Jr. with a -15, easily the worst from the Nuggets, and he was that bad. Like, sometimes plus and minus, it can get a little like, well, this team is blowing each other out or blowing this team out in this portion with this random guys on the floor. No, Michael Porter Jr. was awful. Like, he just was not good on defense, was horrible on offense. 2 of 8, 1 of 6 from 3, and I thought 3 of those he should have drove and been aggressive
or passed the ball.
Or pass, right? I mean, he had 0 assists. They're going to have to figure something out in Miami. I mean, they really are. So let's kind of move to this. Like, do you think they're in trouble? Like, realistically, like, if they continue to play like this, if they let the Heat shoot 48% from the floor, 48% from 3, like, could you see the Nuggets actually losing this finals?
Yeah. I think they're more in trouble than people are willing to admit. And I'm
not willing to admit it.
I'm getting sick of being over here on this Miami Heat island by myself. I've been chilling here for a long time. Like, dude, throw all the numbers out the window. Like, they just smelled blood. They went up to a place that KD and Booker couldn't win at. Anthony Davis and LeBron James couldn't win at. I'll leave the Timberwolves Big 4 out of this, but like, they did it. They showed up. They won the game. They killed them in the second half, which is going to be great momentum for them going back home. I don't think Miami's home court advantage is nearly, as intimidating as going to what used to be the Pepsi Center. What is it now?
It's
something weird. I mean, they're all changed.
I'll find it. It's interesting.
Regardless, like, dude, they just make shots, and that's the thing is the Nuggets. Maybe there's a chance that they just got out Denver Nuggeted. Like, everything went in, they couldn't hit a shot, and that's what they've been doing to teams the entire postseason. So maybe that's a bit of a regression to the mean, or maybe that was the Miami Heat being like, hey, we didn't, like, nobody really outside of like 2 guys played all that well. And the other part, Brad, is we've been saying here for 2 or 3 years maybe that, like, if Bam Adebayo takes 15 shots in a game, that guy is really, really tough to deal with. And he came out and took 23 in game 1, something like that, tempered it down in game 2. But, like, when this dude is putting the pressure on the rim, he's really, really tough to deal with. He's so quick laterally. Jokic is doing a good job, but it's admirable because he's playing 40 minutes and guarding the best player in the world.
Yeah, 100%. Bam Adebayo has been fantastic, and Ball Arena, by the way, it's the new name of the Nuggets. The Nuggets
Shout out
Arena,
Lamar.
which is hilarious. Yeah, but I agree. I mean, I'm in that camp. I'm not ready to admit the Nuggets are in trouble. I think mainly because I have a future on them from the beginning of before the season started, so that's jading me a little bit. But I mean, if I'm being not tongue in cheek, I just think the Nuggets can do more things on the court than the Heat. I think there's a specific way the Heat win, and that's by bombing threes and hitting them. Like they shot freaking 35 threes and hit 17. Like any team who does that is going to win.
They've done it for a month.
It's
like
crazy.
They couldn't shoot in the regular season, and then
It's
in
nuts.
this playoffs, like they have 7 or 8 of the best shooting performances. Like, as a team, they have to. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but like it's ridiculous, and they're shot making. Like they're not getting wide open every time. A lot of it's just like, fuck you, this is going in. We're the Miami Heat. And I think that is what's scary if you're the Denver Nuggets, because the Bucks were better, the Celtics were better, and it was like, oh, we lost game 1. And it was okay, we're back into this in the Bucks series. And then all of a sudden Miami was like, see ya. And then in the Celtics series, it was over before it started, and then Boston battles all the way back just to get punched in the face in game 7. And the Nuggets just got a small taste of that. Like, we think the Nuggets are big and bad and tough and resilient, and they might be, but they haven't had to show it in a long time.
I think that's the point too. As we get into game 3, like they haven't had to show. Like, how do they bounce back? And I do think they showed it in spurts in game 2, Tyson. Like,
and against Phoenix, I guess.
Yeah. But like the Heat come out, punch them in the face in the first quarter. The Nuggets kind of twisted it back. Okay, we're only down 3. All right, that was the punch. Let's respond to our own. We score 34 points. They score 25. We're feeling good. Let's go. Heat in that fourth quarter, bang, 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 just punching the Nuggets. So like, whoa, we're kind of on our heels a little bit. Man, how do we respond? They got to the point where they just missed a shot to go to overtime. Like, I think they've responded a bit, but the Heat don't need a lot of space, right? They're like Floyd Mayweather. They're really fast with their hands. You give them that one little spot, they're going to pop you. And all of a sudden they see their window that they can win this thing and potentially win the match, win the game, win the series. And I think that's the difference between what the Heat have provided than anybody that the Nuggets have faced, right? Like it had to be perfect for the Suns because the bench was playing so poorly. It had to be perfect for the Lakers because either the role players were on or they weren't, or even Anthony Davis is playing. Like this Heat team, they just know their role, right? Like you mentioned, like Kevin Love not playing, comes in, hey, that's what I need to do. Okay, well now we have our plus 18 guy. Like it's just uncanny what they're doing. Like Spoelstra deserves a lot of credit. The players deserve a lot of credit, and I mean, quite honestly, what they've built there, this culture is insane. Like just how they constantly do it. But I'll ask you this, Tyson. Like, what do you expect to see in Game 3? Like you said, you think that bodes well for the Heat. Do they come out early, or how do you expect it to go?
I think that, like, from what I've seen from Denver in this playoff series, I think Denver's going to score a lot of points in the first quarter. That's kind of what I'm expecting. This is like you go when they dropped in Phoenix, and then they come back out, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, that's the team from earlier in the series. Like they have small lulls, and they've had them for 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there throughout this series, certainly, but also throughout the playoffs. It just didn't hurt them like it did against the Heat in those other series. And I think they're going to score a ton of points. I just, at a certain point, this Miami Heat team just doesn't go away. And so when they're up 20 at halftime, that's really just like a good head start. That doesn't mean anything when you're playing the Miami Heat. So it has to be 4 quarters. I'm expecting to get 4 quarters. You're in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. You have the better team. Everybody is crowning you. You go out there and earn it, because like the Miami Heat have been playing with house money since the play-in game. Like since the second one, it was like, okay. And here they are, because they just refuse to go away. And all they're going to do, Brad, is poke and prod and hack and whatever they could slash, whatever they need to do to cut it to 9 in that fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden, like, we have a basketball game. It almost happened in game 1. They just decided, like, we're not getting blown out today. This is embarrassing. And then it was like, this game's over, but like one more 3, and all of a sudden it gets real interesting.
100%. Like you could feel the arena, and ball arena, get a little nervous, and if in game one they're like, "Oh man, I don't know," and then he just kind of ran out of gas. But I think what they did in game one, where they could have like just let go of the rope and be like, "Hey, we're just getting blasted. Let's screw it. Let's regroup." No, they hit shots and carry over to game two. Now I'm curious, Tyson, if the Heat can sustain that, because they do it like we've seen them do it in spurts. Where they're hot for like 2-3 games, but then they get cold and they have to kind of grind it out. Like we saw it in the Celtics series, the Heat not or the Knicks game, Knicks series not as much, but there are some times when it's like, man, this is like old school basketball. I'm curious if how the Nuggets kind of differentiate what they do on defense here. How much offensive game planning is Butler going to be involved in scoring wise? Like he has the ball in his hand and he's passing it and they're scoring. But if they take away the shooters, like is Butler just going to go one-on-one and say, okay, I need to start scoring again? Like, do they change things up on Bam and let him shoot those mid-range shots? Do they want him to drive? Like, I'm curious how Michael Malone wants to do those things. But from the Nuggets, what I'm expecting game three, I think Jokic is going to be a passer. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be much more aggressive getting to the rack. I actually think he's going to have a really good game, and I expect Jamal Murray to be a big scorer for the Nuggets. 15 shots for Murray is just unacceptable, man. Like you're supposed to be the number 2 guy on this team. You're supposed to be a superstar. You need to at least get 20.
Yeah, I mean, but that's tale as old as time, right?
True.
Young shooting guard gets to the NBA Finals and has a disappointing game when we're all kind of expecting him to go off. But that's kind of the key to the Denver Nuggets is this isn't the Boston Celtics. This isn't the Knicks. This isn't the Milwaukee Bucks. Like this, they had a better offensive night by like advanced metrics than they did in game one. Like they scored more points per 100 possessions than they did in game one. This is just an avalanche, and you have to be literally 2 steps ahead of them in order to continue to fend them off. So not only do the Miami Heat have to carry over the adjustments they made in game one, like the Nuggets are going to figure out a way to deal with Bam Adebayo being the trigger man on the handoffs and all that stuff, because that's opening so much for back cuts, for guys flashing to the corner, however they're scoring, it's coming off of a Bam Adebayo handoff, it seems like, and they're going to figure it out. So this is the fun part of the NBA. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, how NBA coaches don't matter because they coach superstars and nobody cares about them. And it's like, dude, a robot can do this job. And now this is literally the difference in the series will be Michael Malone versus Eric Spoelstra and who can stay one step ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Tyson, let's get into Money Making Time now. Not a bad start to Money Making Time if you listen to our last pod. We got game 1 Golden Knights. We're up 2-0 Golden Knights. We could be hitting that series. We could be hitting that bet. We're loving hockey. I got another pick for you later. Tyson, I said Nuggets in 5. Now, are we sweaty? Absolutely. Are we dead? No, we're not. We just need 2 wins here in Miami. Go back to Denver and close them out. Bury the zombies for good. But we're getting a little iffy there. But some of our prop plays, I mean, we need Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to wake up. If we want to hit this 3 prop, we need Michael Porter Jr. to have a big game if we want to hit that 30-point prop. So Tyson and I are still alive here, but let's take a look at the best bets that we have for game 3. I know Tyson's been scouring FanDuel Sportsbook. I have one. I think it's not going to surprise anybody here what I like for my best bet, but we'll pull it up here. If you're watching us on YouTube, we have the odds right here. -2.5 on the spread for the Denver Nuggets, obviously +2.5 for the Heat. The money line -142 in favor of the Nuggets, +120 if you like the Heat just to win straight up. Over under sitting at 214.5, juiced a little bit under here on FanDuel Sportsbook. So, Tyson, are you playing anything spread? Are you playing anything total wise? You going money line? Do you have anything related to that for your best bet?
Yes. So it's related by way of proxy, but I looked at the money line at -142. I think Denver's going to win the game, so that's where I'm looking. But Nikola Jokic double in Denver to win is -114. I just at this point in his career in the playoffs, in the way that the season's gone, if he's going to be on the court, he's going to get a double. And so if I think the Denver Nuggets are going to win, Jokic to get a double-double combined with that, it doesn't bring it down much, but it certainly gives you a little bit better return. And it's something that I'm very comfortable having confidence in Nikola Jokic to get a double-double.
I love that because also that's minus 114. There's a 30% profit boost for any player performance double. So if you like that, you can get that up to plus money with your 30% boost. So how about that? I love that, Tyson. I was thinking about the same thing there. I'm just going to go best bet Nuggets money line. I don't think they lose here.
This is a
play it up to minus 150. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think game 3, Nuggets.
We both just went right away from them.
I think maybe game 4 could be where we get sweaty. Game 3 to me, Tyson, is the Nuggets game. Michael Malone's in their ass. It was from Sunday to Wednesday. Let's not forget, they had time. The Mike Malone's chewing them out. Like, what are you guys doing? It's all the effort. Like, Nuggets are going to be focused. Like, they're going to come into this game with the most laser focus they've had since game 1, where the Nuggets could have named their score, named their difference. Now, they're not at home. They don't have the heat coming off game 7. I think the Nuggets going from altitude down to sea level, I think that's going to help them out more than the Heat, who had the 2 quick games going. That, like, how does that make sense? Nuggets have been practicing and playing at home in the altitude. Now they're going to go down to Miami at the sea level. They're not going to be partying. They're not going to be doing any of this and that. They're going to be ready for a basketball game, and I think they take care of business to go up 2-1.
It's just, I love Charles Barkley's quote the other day about the altitude point when he was like, I don't see no banners up in here. He's like, it's that crazy. But it did definitely play a factor in game 1. Another bet, Brad, that I like, that I'm curious to hear your thoughts on. Both teams have scored in the first minute is plus 152. Things have come interesting in the first couple minutes of this series. I don't think you would have been very happy with this to this point, but it's been very good actions from both teams on opening possessions and opening kind of maybe first minute of structured half-court offense when things aren't in fast breaks. I think both teams have been getting good looks. So this is something I expect. Just like always, we kind of just expect Jokic to win the tip and Denver to somehow find a back cut layup. And then on the other side, I think Miami's going to have a little something, hopefully to get Jimmy Butler rolling. So I think both teams in this first minute.
I like that. I may have to take a peek at that myself here, Tyson. Now, I just pull up the player props. We can just go through this quickly. If there's anything we like, we'll officially put this in the chalkboard as we just gave out our best bet and a lean that Tyson likes or something he's going to play. But Jokic 29.5, it's juiced under. I think that's probably fair. Like, I don't know if he's going to get a 30 piece. I think he's going to be more involved in the passing game than anything here. What do you think about that, Tyson?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but like, I don't know, he scores 30 every time. I feel like that's the flip side of this.
Now, Jamal Murray 24.5. I like the over on this. Now, I think that's probably getting up to 25.5 by the time it tips, just based on where the juice is. So if you're listening to us, we're recording on Tuesday night. So we'll have this out on Wednesday. So if it's already moved, we apologize. You could take 25 plus. I do think he's the 25-point scorer in this one.
I thought that was the over-under for shot attempts.
The fair. See, there we go for Tyson. He likes the over. I'm staying away from Butler, man. It feels like this is the game he's going to bounce back. But
how many times have we lost on Jimmy Butler by a point?
Dude, it's ridiculous.
It seems like every time. He's 27.5, he gets 27. He's 24.5, he gets 24.
Can Bam score 20 points? He's at 19.5. Now he's been flirting with that number. It feels like a lot. I feel like the Nuggets may do something different on him on defense. I would not be touching this prop as it currently sits now.
But I do like the Aaron Gordon at 12.5. I mean, I think if this is a high effort, high energy game, Aaron Gordon is going to be the main beneficiary on the scoring end for the Nuggets.
And we saw what happened when he was aggressive early. I mean, he completely changed that game in game 1, and it just kind of moved everything forward. Now, I said I like a big game for Michael Porter Jr. I think the books are in a show and improve type of moment here, where under 14.5 is juiced under. I think you can actually get some value on that. There is a Porter game coming soon, whether that's game 3 or not, I'm not sure. Tyson, if you have a lean on that, or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, it's over under, who we both have been talking about being criticized.
Well, on the Michael Porter Jr. point, him with 15 plus points in Denver to win is plus 190 right now, and then you get the 30% boost on top of that. So if you like Denver and you like Michael Porter Jr., I think that's a good way to go about it.
Struce 9.5. It's hard to say. Like, he found like he got a shot. I mean, he hit 4 threes in the first quarter, and they still kept it at 9.5, which I think is, if you're reading between the lines, a little scary because normally they like to adjust, but they are slow sometimes. So I don't know, Tyson. Struce has burned you a couple times. We play as props, but I mean, I don't know if you're going back to him or not here.
Well, you got to pick one Heat role player to hit their over on points. So, like, throw a dart basically, and you got a 1 in 4 shot of hitting the right guy.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's going to do it. All right, let's just go through this real quick. Let's take a look at rebounds to see how ridiculous everything is listed here on FanDuel Sportsbook, as Jokic at 11.5. Now, that
Smash.
seems low, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's been listed at 12, 13.5 to start. This feels like it's an over. I think he's going to get more involved as well. And you like it too.
Yeah, that's again, like, this is just a guy where playing his over on props has been better for your pockets than going under.
I think really everything else, if you're watching us on FanDuel, or on FanDuel, on YouTube, like, you can see us pull up the FanDuel odds here. Nothing else really jumps out to me. I think Bam's 9.5. You know, I don't want to flirt with that number. Gordon at 5.5 is interesting. Porter Jr. over 7.5 plus 112. That's interesting, but nothing really catches my eye here.
No, I mean, rebound props are tough anyways when teams are shooting this many 3-pointers. Like, I'm confident in Nikola Jokic. I don't know where the ball's bouncing. Like, Contavious Caldwell-Pope could have 5 in the first quarter, or he might not get 1 in the game.
All right, let's close out with assists before we move to anything else here. I think this is where we can try to make a little cash here. I mean, Jokic at 9.5. That feels like it's almost too good to be true, right?
I mean, this is what I'm saying. His line is set at a triple-double. Like, if you check his FanDuel, it's – what are they? They think he's going to score 29, have 11 boards, and 9 assists. It's tough, man. At minus 148, like, you think he's going to have 14 again, but who knows how the Heat are going to play him.
Jamal Murray at 6.5. He's passed the ball really well in this series. I expect him to be more aggressive. So if anything, I would look to an under. But again, he's done a tremendous job spreading the love. I think that may go back to Jokic in this one, and Murray's a little bit more of a scorer and slasher. So I'm staying away from that.
And if you look at Bam Adebayo there at 3.5, one thing that it's a little something to keep in mind when they're playing at home. It's a little bit more generous with how many dribbles you get between the handoff to the shot.
Gabe Vincent 3.5. I only would look at the under here. Now, of course, he can get burned on it. He had 3 last game, and Jimmy was extremely generous with his passing. Could that change and Vincent's more involved passing instead of scoring? Possibly, but you just never really can get a good read on the Heat. So I really don't know what to expect from him. So I'd stay away from anything regarding the role players besides scoring. I think that which we can kind of take a shot in the dark on.
Yeah, and we missed our first basket prop. So that's the only one I think we've done this season, and it didn't go well.
Yeah, good point. All right, Tyson, we got to continue on here in Money Making Time, because let's take a look at the NHL. Let's take a look at the NHL here with the Vegas Golden Knights up 2-0 on the Florida Panthers, another team from Southern Miami. Now they're heading back down to Southern Miami, then the Sunshine, Florida. And I got to say, close your ears, Nick, my brother. Close your ears, Golden Knights fans. I think we do get our first win here from the Florida Panthers. I'm going to take a minus 122 on the money line. I am concerned about the goaltending for the Panthers.
Goodness.
Now, my handicap, Tyson, if you remember, and for the people out there who listened, why did I like the Knights? Because Sergei Bobrovsky was standing on his head. Like, he was playing unbelievable. I thought that had to come to an end, right? The guy's a little older. He didn't perform like that through the regular season. What do you know? He let up 4 in game 2 and got benched. Then we had Alex Lyon come in. I think Lyon's going to be in the pipes down there in Florida. He's going to get the nod. Like, hey, thanks, Big Bob. We appreciate it, but they got your number a little bit. I think this is going to be a low-scoring, grinded-out game, and the Florida Panthers have seemed to win those in the playoffs. Just something that happens. Matthew Tkachuk has been extremely quiet. Good. He's an American.
The hit was loud
for him. That hit was loud on old Jack Eichel. So I'd like the Panthers. Let's get 2-1 here, and then Vegas can go win game 4, and we'll close that, and we'll have a party.
You're nuts, man. They got the both of them. They were throwing everything on goal. They were throwing. It was going in.
Dude, it was insane. Like
it was pretty cool.
Game 2 was nuts. Tyson's text me, "This is sick."
I mean, it was good, and then we got a little bit of scuffles at the end there to kind of appease everybody, get the narrative going for the next game, make everybody kind of sit up a little bit when it's 7-2 or whatever, and everybody's kind of checked out.
Absolutely. You got to love that, right? Like that's the thing about hockey too. It's like the Lightning used to be so good at it, where it was like, hey, we may be getting our ass kicked this game, but we're not losing the fight, and they'll just start like fighting. They're like, we're here, like we're in this series. Everyone's like, God, man, these guys are so annoying, and all they do is just kick your ass and then beat you, and it's just like, man, the Lightning are insane.
Do you think it was a toe pick and he's fallen into it, and that's why everybody, because the hit looked kind of crazy in real time, and then in slow motion, it felt a lot like the NFL when we were getting the replay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought I was looking at too. Like in real speed, you're like, oh man, this guy's broken in half, and you look at it, you're like, I can't tell if it's just because he's like a pro athlete and his body's built different than everybody else, or like if that's me, I'm literally in 2 pieces. Like,
I'm screwed. Yeah.
All right. Well, Tyson, I know we talked a lot about props, different things. We gave out our best bets, but if there's anything else we're adding, tell them where they can find it.
It'll be in the Chalkboard app. The group name is the Roundtable. It's the Roundtable Bets. It's ISWIS presents the Roundtable Bets. There we go. Sorry, it took me a minute. It's on the Chalkboard app. It's on App Store, Google Play, wherever you download your apps. It's just a little community we've got built. We're shit talking in there, talking random parlays that we've put together, or NHL stuff, NBA stuff. Obviously, right now we're going to get into some season longs in the NFL, which is kind of the bread and butter that we found here on our show. So we're pretty excited for that. And then this UFC card is kind of weak, but we do have some fight stuff in there as well. So whatever you could think of, Brad's going to be betting on all the live guys for the next couple of months. And just hop in there and fade us, tail us. It doesn't really matter. We're just trying to, get some engagement, have some fun.
Me binging the CW, sweating out my live golf bets.
Dude, how pumped do you think they are? We should have talked about that.
I wonder if they're even. They should be involved. I'd be curious. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, if you haven't heard PGA Tour and Live merged, go check out our episode we just did on it. If you're like, what the hell is going on with this? We break it down for you. Have some good stuff there, and you can always find our stuff if you're like, hey, I like these guys. Like, subscribe, and share. Share it with your buddies. Share it with your friends. Share it with your enemies. Who cares? Like, send them some stuff. And
one friend,
always
2
subscribe.
enemies.
One friend, 2 enemies. Exactly. That's our policy here on I Said What I Said. But if you're subscribed to us, you'll never miss an upload. So whether you're watching us on YouTube or whether you're listening to us on podcast form, just hops right in your feed. You'll get an alert whenever we post something. Go ahead and subscribe. And obviously, if you like it, whether you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and smash that like button. It really just helps us out in that algorithm, and it helps us more discoverable on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps us out. So you can always stay connected to media pages, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. It's all the same at ISWIS_pod, as we got some more content coming out there. But in the meantime, like Tyson said, we are doing some work on college football, doing some work on the NFL, which we're getting ready for the season. I can't believe we're saying that, but we'll have a lot of fantasy football
draft on Friday. Like, I'm going into it already. We've been in the trenches.
Unbelievable. Well, we'll have a ton of stuff for you there. Make sure to stay connected with us. We will talk to you soon, guys. Peace.